Alrighty, thank you for joining me in today's webinar on making the most out of your subscription management. The few learning objectives that we have for today is learning public versus private publications. We're also going to learn how to create a publication and how to add a publication to your forms. As a brief reminder, over here on your help drop-down menu, you have the opportunity to reach out to us via a support request in case you have any questions in regards to your data bank, or would like to have an understanding on how to accomplish a certain thing within your data bank. Also, our support center will have all of the frequently asked questions, and you'll be able to look any topic or again frequently asked questions, and we'll provide some reference and guidance on that. And then last but not least, if you haven't signed up for any additional trainings, feel free to do so, and we'll go ahead and get started. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to put it in the chat box, and we'll spend some time towards the end to go over any questions that you might have. So to look and work with the publications section, you're going to go under the communication dropdown and you're going to select publications. So publications, you have the ability to create several publications based on how you want to communicate to your constituents and or contacts. So for example, you'll have newsletters, you'll have action alerts. It pretty much empowers your constituents to decide which of your publications they are going to subscribe to. In essence, it is better to send out 5 different emails to, let's say, 6,000 contacts instead of one email to 20,000 contacts. This does provide better engagement. And if they unsubscribe from one publication, it won't unsubscribe them from all, unless they do click on the unsubscribe from all publications. So again, the main component of subscriptions management within the communication dropdown is to set up your publications, create them, edit them, and also allow you to decide which forms you want this publication to be shown under. So we're going to walk through this particular page, and we're going to go ahead and dive into the different sections that we could go ahead and do. So here within the publication setup page, this is going to be the main page where you're going to either delete or create new publications. This page does provide you with sophisticated controls over where your publication sign up appear, the name of the publications, and like I said, deleting publications as well. Here on the top section, we have what we call the public publications, right? And over here on towards the bottom, we have what we call the private publications. So what's the difference between a public and a private publication? So public publications is where individuals can opt in and opt out of your public publications. So this is where you can determine which forms your public publications are listed on. Whereas on the private publications, only someone logged in into your data bank can subscribe individuals to a private publication. Individuals will always have the ability to opt out slash unsubscribed from the private publications that they are subscribed to. But as mentioned earlier, the main distinction is that someone that's logged in, such as the staff within your data bank, can subscribe to these individuals via the backend. So on your forms, as you can see, this doesn't have the opportunity to associate the forms to the private publication. So the case scenario to where you would want to create a private publication would be for internal communication only amongst your staff. So here we have organization members, board notices, so notices that are only relevant to your board members of any sort, and so forth. So here we're just going to start off by creating a brand new publication. So we do have a lot of publications here listed. And let's see what we can create. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna go ahead and delete an existing one, so I can create pretty much that same one. So to delete a publication, in case you're wanting to clean up your list of any sort, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and click on delete, and you're gonna click on the save contact publications, and you're gonna click OK. And so this is gonna allow us to delete that specific publication. And so anyone that was subscribed to that will pretty much get removed, because that publication is no longer going to exist. Again, this is a test database. So if you are wanting to delete, a publication, you do want to make sure that you're not gonna want to continue that specific publication at a later point in time. So now I have my list, and as you can see, that specific publication is no longer listed. So I'm going to go ahead and add a brand new one. Click on the little text box and name whatever it is you want to name it. In this list order, this is pretty much just asking us like where in this list you want this publication to be shown. So if you did want to do things alphabetically order, you can go ahead and change the list order. In this case, I can go ahead and keep this last, and I'm going to go ahead and click save. All right, so now that we've created a publication and we've already determined the list order, we have a couple different options that we can associate and work within this particular screen. So we can subscribe a group of contacts, but we also can unsubscribe a group of contacts. So let's just say that I'm doing a select all. Of course, if within your data bank, you would want to refine your particular selection. And so I'm just going to go back to publications now that I have a selection. And let's just say I want to subscribe everyone, right? And so I'm going to click on the subscribe content selection. So what's going to do is going to go ahead and subscribe everyone within my data bank. What I could come back and do later on, because I just did a select all, I could redefine my search by only selecting the contacts that do have a mailing address, or an email address, excuse me. And once I have that narrowed search, then I could be like, well, let me unsubscribe all of these individuals from this particular publication and fix my mistake by resubscribing the contacts within my data bank that only have email address and, let's say, email contact preference as okay. So that would have been the appropriate way to do so. It looks like my screen, it's still updating the subscriptions because, again, I did select all of my contacts. So hopefully it refreshes here in just a minute or less. Gonna wait just a little bit. All right, so it looks like that was too much for my system. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and open a uh, ticket up. So let me go back to my screen, my dashboard. And so again, I probably the best step that I should have done here is just redefine my search and uh, created more consistent. So what I'm gonna do actually here is I am gonna look up everyone that has made a contribution at any point in time. And the reason I'm doing this is because earlier we said it's a yearly report. So the yearly report, let's make the assumption that it's contacts that are going to be receiving fundraising information that our organization gather at the end of the year. So here I'm going to do a filter to show where email is not null, so meaning that the email is not empty. So I'm going to go ahead and click find. And here I'm just going to go ahead and stick with this for 139. If I wanted, to narrow it down to only include those with the OK email, I could most certainly do so. But for the sake of this example, we just want to make sure we have a good quantity where we can demonstrate how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and click subscribe. And there we go. So now it went ahead and subscribed all of the contacts that I had selected. The next thing that we're going to cover is this forms. So here, if I click on the forms name, it's going to ask me where I want this publication to show for what particular forms. So while you could go to forms, so I'm going to open it on a brand new tab. You could go to forms and you could go to the edit icon, and you could also go to the personal tab and select what publication you want to include for this particular form. Here in this section, it just allows you to do it all in one place. So sometimes, it is easier to just do it within that single form going into that personal tab. But many times, if you're just trying to decide what forms out of all the forms that you have available, this would be the corresponding place to do so. So once, let's say that I am going to include this in our winter fundraiser and example form for donors, I'm going to go ahead and click submit. And it's going to go ahead and add that specific publication to my form that I've selected. All right. So here I am going to go back to my publications. All right. So here, the last thing that I do want to view is going to be how this all looks like within a contact record. So we briefly took a look at this in our previous webinar, but here I'm just going to go ahead and go into this contact record, and I'm going to go to the tab that says subscriptions. All right. So here we can tell we which publications this particular contact is subscribed to. So earlier, like I said, either you can subscribe the group of contacts within the publication page. So if you have a selection of, let's say, of the board members and you want to subscribe them to board notices, you can also do so within the publication section of your communication drop-down menu, or you could also go to their specific contact record and select the private publication to which you want them to be subscribed to. So here, like I said, I am going to go ahead and just demonstrate. So someone asked a question about, is the publication just grouping of forms? How is it different from PowerMail? So no, publications are not forms. Publications are pretty much your subscription list. So if I go to a Power Mail, so I'm going to click on a specific Power Mail already created. You get to decide if you want to associate a publication to your Power Mail. So what this means is that those who are subscribed to that particular publication are going to be automatically selected when you decide to publish this Power Mail. So in this case, we're going to do the fundraising newsletter, right? So the fundraising newsletter, I'm going to go ahead and click submit to save my changes. And then I'm going to go to the publish tab. So this is what the publication subscription mailable subscribers to means. So there's different components, right? The first component is creating your publications under your communication dropdown. So those are going to be your different subscription lists that you have available. The second one is that when people fill out a form, whether it's a sign up form or donation form, you have the ability to decide, hey, I have a fundraising newsletter and I also have a volunteer newsletter. Which of these are you interested in receiving communication? So it could be that the person is interested in receiving the fundraising and also the volunteer opportunities. And so when you do decide to send out a power mail, you can again select the corresponding publication because that will just take into account everyone that is subscribed to. Yeah, yes. So the question was, it's like a way to group contacts so they receive certain messages from you. Yes. Um, you may have missed it in the beginning, and that's totally fine. So I'm really glad you asked that question. But yeah, it's pretty much, if you're shopping for Target and you want to receive their newsletters, you're as me as a customer, I have to click on subscribe so I can receive that communication. Of course, because we're not a retailer, we do have the ability to kind of segregate that communication into different categories. That way, if your constituent does decide to only receive specific communication, let's say on your volunteer opportunities, you're only reaching out to them with that information as you are selecting that publication for your specific power mail. All right. So the last thing that I do want to point out is how you can look up contacts based on their subscription preference. So I'm going to go to search and I'm going to go under activities. And I am actually going to go under activity by and scroll to the bottom. And here we have a couple different options. So we have unsub, and let me just make sure that the activity type is going to be the best one. So here we have subscribe prefs, right? So what this stands for is the contact subscribed to the publication listed in the note. So if I wanted to know um, when individuals subscribe to a particular publication, so if I put in the activity date to narrow down my selection, and let's say I want to know if they subscribed to the yearly what was it? Yearly. I'll go ahead and put contains the yearly report. So here I'm going to go ahead and type this in. And of course, depending on the publication name that you have the activity note may look different. So again, I'm not specifying a criteria, but I most certainly could. So I'm gonna go ahead and click find. But because we've subscribed everyone via the backend and it's not giving us a result. But if individuals had subscribed via a front end form, it would create that activity note and it would show, okay, Damien decided to subscribe to this particular publication on this date. So that's what that subscribe prefs option does. The next thing that I do want to point out under the activity type is the unsub. So unsub means that the contact unsubscribed from the publication in the activity note after receiving the publication in a Power Mail. So you can specify like, okay, I want to look at all the individuals that have unsubscribed to this particular publication. You put the publication name here and put in a date if you'd like. And the last option that I want to go ahead and touch on is unsub other. So the contact unsubscribe from the publication in the note after receiving a different publication within the activity note. So you have several different ways of looking up these contacts. And then the last thing, unsubscribed, is just the individual, the contact unsubscribed from all of your Power Mails. So rest assured, if you don't remember this, that's okay. You can reach out to us. I believe the support center does have a list of all the activity types that are within the system generated. So if you, or what I call the system values. So you can also look up system values or yeah, activity types, and it'll go ahead and list the activity type with the definition of what that specific system value means. So right now we've actually reached to the conclusion of our making the most out of subscription management. We can go over any questions or anything that may have not made complete sense. Alrighty. So is this also a space to add subscriptions for text messages? Yeah, yes. So if you haven't done so already, you would want to create a subscription specifically for text messages. So here I already have one. So text messages, urgent alerts from our nonprofit delivered to your mobile device. So by you allowing individuals to opt in to the SMS publication, you do have the ability to use the SMS announcement, right? So you never want to go ahead and go out of your way to just send individuals SMS announcement if they haven't actually decided that they want to opt in to receive mobile alerts or mobile communication. So if you've created this SMS publication, then you would want to go to forms and say, okay, these are the forms that I want to incorporate this subscription to. And then I'll have the ability for your constituents to actually subscribe to it themselves. Good question. Alrighty. Well, I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. And again, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be more than glad to answer or clarify anything for you. Thank you. Bye bye.